Alright. Fuck. Alright, chat. Today, we're going to be reacting to the 21 worst changes in R6 history. R6 react. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, dickhead. Fuck off. We're reacting to 21 worst changes in Rainbow Six history. If you guys want to check it out for yourself, go check out this R6 Central. R6 Central. Great guy, great guy.
Six
Let's
Siege is
get into it.
almost
Let's get into it.
10
Let's get
years
into it.
old, and with the amount of time that this game has been alive, there have been many changes.
I'm pretty okay. I don't know how long did he post this. All right, he posted this 9 months ago. That makes sense because R6 is 10 years
Rainbow
old now.
Six Siege. Most of them actually pretty good, but some of them were absolutely terrible. So in this video, we'll be going over the 21 worst changes in Rainbow Six Siege history. The first change was so bad, in fact, that it only lasted a few days before immediately getting reverted. And that was the change of making it to where Smoke couldn't breathe in his own smoke canister.
Are we dead ass? They actually made that change? In what fucking universe was making a change like that a smart idea? That's probably the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Why would a character named Smoke not be able to breathe in his own fucking smoke?
Eventually, a while back, they made it to where they were trying to remove innate passives from the game. They started out by removing Ella's innate passive where you could detonate an Ella mine when you get downed. They removed Zophia's withstand. They removed Echo's inability to get called by Dokkaebi, and many other.
That's kind of broken right there. That's actually broken. Dude, W5 stream streak. That's a W right there. That's a W right there.
And when they were removing innate passives, one of the
my
passives
moderator.
that they thought about removing was making it to where Smoke couldn't breathe in his smokes. But this didn't make sense. I mean, if you look at his character, he's wearing a
Me encanta
What
Roblox,
the?
pero no tengo dinero para gastar en Robux.
Dude,
Qué
okay.
bueno que tengo BAF. Con BAF puedo...
gas mask.
Alright,
it
we're
also
back.
shows in the trailer for the character him breathing in his own smoke and playing.
Whoa. What do you mean smash? It's a fucking AI character. What do you mean smash? What the fuck is wrong
Inside
with
of his
you?
smoke is one of the many things that actually makes this operator dynamic and fun to play if you're a good player. So this change not only lore-wise and character-wise made absolutely zero sense, but also it just wasn't unnecessary.
Demolish.
Change.
Okay,
it
that's
wasn't
crazy.
the passive that didn't.
Hey, that's good trigger discipline
belong,
right there.
But it's passive that was absolutely
That's good aim.
needed. So when the change was announced in the patch notes, people
Operation Bussy Storm.
were
Okay, nope.
outraged, and immediately
That is
after
not an
taking to
operation.
Twitter,
That is not
the
an
change was
operation,
only
bro.
in the
That
game
is not an
for a
operation.
few days before eventually getting removed entirely. A change that was in the game for a lot longer than that, though, was the addition of the 1.5 and 2x scopes in Operation Shadow Legacy. These scopes were absolutely insane because there
Dude, is that the original ACOG? I believe that's original
were
ACOG.
no downsides to these.
I think that 1.5 was the original YouTube volume low. No, it's not. It's on fucking max. I'm being dead ass. Dude, the YouTube volume is up as high as it can be. But fine.
Scopes. The
There you go, is that
1.5
better?
times scope wasn't too zoomed in or too zoomed out, meaning you could take a gunfight at any range on any map. It also had a lot of glass space, meaning a lot of what you were looking at was magnified and in the scope, and the crosshair wasn't too invasive. The actual casing of the scope didn't take up too much of your peripherals, making
chat. Hold on. I misclicked. Hold on.
the crosshair wasn't too
The
invasive.
2x scope I really like, but only for DMRs. Only DMR scopes I like it. I don't like it for any other gun, just DMR.
The actual casing of the scope didn't take up too much of your peripherals, making these two scopes the best scopes in the game overnight. These scopes were so good, in fact, that entire operators were being played based off of
Smoke had an ACOG for SMG11? Who the fuck authorized that?
if these scopes
No,
were
who
on those operators
authorized
or
that
not.
at
The operator
Ubisoft?
like Warden, for example, is a great example of what I'm talking about. Nobody played Warden at all, even
Capcan had C4.
when he was released.
I mean, Capcan,
until-
Capcan's not bad at a C4. I think having Capcan for a C4 is pretty good.
He had a 1.5 times scope on his gun. Since then, he had a
I do remember
90%
this.
pick
I
rate
do
until the
remember this.
1.5 was
I do
eventually
remember this.
removed because of just how
SMG
broken the scope was on
telescopic sight.
anybody that used it.
Damn.
This would eventually create the 1.5 meta, which would eventually create the TDM meta, which is still something we're semi-suffering through to this day, simply because of the addition of
I'm pretty sure the reason why they took ACOG off of defenders is because of this meta specifically. Rook had I
through
don't even know what that is.
scopes.
Telsite?
Definitely
What
a
the fuck is
terrible
Telsite?
change that had
Oh,
good
these sites. What
intentions,
is that?
but just did not pan out in the way that Ubisoft expected. The same exact thing can be said for the third worst change in Rainbow Six Siege, which is Ranked 2.0. If you don't know, the ranking
Yes,
system of
Ranked
how Rainbow
2.0
Six
is ass,
Siege
bro.
used
Ranked
to work is a
2.0
lot
is
different
still
than how it
ass.
works now.
It's
Back
still
in the
ass.
day, you would have an actual elo system. There would be no hidden MMR, and the elo you were gaining and losing
I
in
don't
the
know.
rank that you
I honestly will never know. I will never fucking know why they added a hidden MMR. It is the dumbest shit ever. Why would you ever add hidden MMR?
were
in
shown
any
to
game?
have was actually
Telescopic sight, most zoomed in sight used on DMRs. Oh, that's disgusting. For Rook? For Rook.
your skill level that you
And
had to earn.
SMG.
It definitely was a broken ranking system
These
compared
devs
to a
were
lot
on
of other
something
ranked
else back
systems
in
and
the day,
games,
though.
but it was
These
a
devs were on
lot better than
something
what we
else.
have now. In Ranked 1.0, you would have to play 10 placement matches, and based off of those placement matches and how well you
This
did
was
and
good.
the enemies
I
you were
love
going
this.
against,
I love this. I love this. Now you play one rank match, you automatically get like bronze 5, I think, or at least I automatically get bronze 5.
you would be given a
I think
rank
it's
that you
'cause
could
I suck
climb
ass.
with, as opposed to now where everybody starts in unranked, and the only way that you can hit champion is just by playing a bunch of games over
Yeah.
and over again. It's pretty much just who can play the game more, and it's not an actual display of
kinda is,
skill
I'm not
at
gonna
all.
lie.
There's also the hidden MMR aspect to it. Essentially, you can be in champion elo, but the game can think of
Let me know some BS.
you as a copper player and therefore give you copper teammates and copper enemies, even though all of you have the rank champion. It essentially takes away any credibility that a rank that you could possibly get actually has, which makes the point of ranked null and void, which is why Ranked 2.0 was one of the worst changes in Rainbow Six Siege history.
Okay, this is
Now,
probably the most cunt-ass game mode play I've ever seen. Why the fuck is Thor using an ACOG in defense and just shitting on people on Cafe? Like, no wonder why people don't like Cafe that much. Because people like that just sit in the top floor and just shit on people.
Now, I know that that might have sounded
Like,
a little bit complicated,
do you
and that's
enjoy
fair.
that?
The ranking system of this game in particular, or even any game in general, is something that is very hard to understand for most people. So let's go over a change that was absolutely terrible, but is way easier to understand. And that was the change of Sledge turning into a 3 armor in Operation Solar Raid. Operation Solar Raid, by the way, was the same operation that Ranked 2.0 came out, so this season was just terrible all around. But you get the idea.
Do animated scary story debunking. What? What is that? What is that? Is that a video?
In Operation Solar Raid, they made Sledge go from a 2 armor 2 speed to a 3 armor. That was bad because
I don't know. Sledge had SMG 11. That's not even that crazy though. Okay. My opinion on this 2 armor to 3 armor, I don't think it's that crazy of a fucking deal. I mean, it's like he has more health now, but it's not like bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not bad.
had the operator Buck, who was a 2-speed 2 armor with hard breaching charges,
Okay, never mind. Since Buck was still a 2 armor, that makes sense now.
and then
Because then Sledge is, like, essentially not unusable. Because why would you choose someone who's slower? Why would you choose anyone who's slower and has less utility than Buck?
recently you had Ram come out, which also outshadowed Sledge in every single way, making
Yeah.
Sledge an operator that
Back to
wasn't
plus
played
size
at
info
all
is
because
getting
every
arrested.
other
I am
operator
not
did
gonna
his
li-
job but better
No, I'm
and
not gonna do that
brought
right
more
now.
utility.
Not right
Keep in
now.
mind that frag grenades got reworked so he was less lethal and he didn't have an SMG-12 at the time. Sledge was absolutely cooked and there was nothing good about this operator, which is why Ubisoft's decision to make him a 3 armor baffles me and most people even to this day. It's a good thing that they actually finally reverted this change this season, making him
dude,
a
it's
2
so
armor
funny.
2 speed instead of a
Okay,
3
well,
armor
well,
1 speed. A
well,
change
watch
that they have yet to
plus-size
revert, and I doubt they
influencer getting
ever will,
arrested
is the
after
5th
this.
worst change in Rainbow Six Siege history, and that was taking away the ability to cook frag grenades. Now,
Dude, chat. I never played the game. I never played the game when this was in, but I wanted to play it so bad. Like, that seems, like, being able to cook a grenade, but it kind of seems overpowered that you can just blow someone up from the ground without them knowing. They should have removed that, but kept the ability to cook a grenade. Because, like, that makes sense. Having a grenade, like, now you have skill with a grenade, and you don't just throw it. You have a skill with it. But, like, they should make it so it doesn't insta-kill you if they throw it at a floor or a wall, you know?
some of you might actually think
That's the change they should have made. They shouldn't have just, like, been like, oh, you can't cook grenades anymore.
this is a good change, because
Because, like, in real life, I don't even know. I actually have no idea if you can cook a grenade in real life.
To be honest,
I have no
there
idea.
wasn't any counter to cooking a frag grenade and killing somebody through a floor. If that person didn't know you had a yellow ping on them, there would be
Holy
no way
shit.
to actually
Oh my
counter that. It
God.
was borderline broken, and TSM used and abused this to win an entire major just a few years ago. So how could this possibly be one of the worst changes in Rainbow Six Siege history? Well, the simple fact of it is that there was a lot better ways of going about trying
See, like, that's skill right there. Like, being able to cook a grenade that long and kill those guys, that is skill. That takes skill. But now throwing it at the fucking, like, at a ground is not skill.
to rebalance frag grenades in order to take
Yeah, that's
away
what
the
I'm
broken
saying. Getting
mechanic,
3 kills
which
off
was
that
just
is
cooking them
fucking
below
crazy.
floors. I think
It
a
is.
better way that they could have done this was keeping the cook mechanic, but making it to where the damage through surfaces
I just fucking said that! I just fucking said that! Did I not just say that shit? I just said that!
was just lessened. That
Am I
way you
not
could
a
still
fucking
cook frag
genius?
grenades below, and you still had that way of showing skill expression, but you wouldn't get a free kill because of it. Let's say it would only do half that person's HP, or 75, you get the idea, you would still be able
I
to do
wouldn't even go
damage,
75,
and
I'd
even
go
you'd
50.
be able to
I would go
cook
50.
frag grenades to get
Junko
pieces
has
of
at 30K
utility, but you
viewers.
wouldn't
Yeah,
be able
well,
to get
that's
kills through
because
surfaces,
Junko is
essentially
a good
being the
streamer,
best
and I'm
of both
not.
worlds. Instead of doing this,
Yeah,
Ubisoft
I'm
just
not
took away
meowing
the
for
ability
you,
to
bro.
cook them all together, which took out the skill expression and frag grenades, took out the fun plays, and made them just boring and honestly underwhelming to use compared to their former self. Something else that is very underwhelming compared to its former self is
Picked a great main, but your voice doesn't
Oh
quite
my
match
God,
it?
bro.
We have a fix.
Voice
Fuck
mod gives you
off,
over
dude.
100
I'm not gonna buy a
Mozzie.
boost mod.
Now I will say the recent buff to Mozzie where they gave him a 4th pest as well as impact grenades was cool. The one thing about Mozzie is that he is a roamer, so he needs the ability to rotate around in order to be a roamer, so giving him
Bark like
impacts
a
was
little
a nice
good boy
idea,
who-
but the
nope.
unfortunate part is that
Absolutely
everybody is
not.
going to run his nitro cell,
Absolutely
so Mozzie,
not.
even though he has a 4th pest, is more or less the same operator, which is why the 6th worst change in Rainbow Six Siege history was
I don't
taking
even
away
know-
Mozzie's super
I
shorty.
don't even
You see,
know
back
that's
in the
that
day,
crazy.
Mozzie was actually one of the best roamers in the game, especially near his release. He had a nitro cell, and he had a super
the fuck
shorty,
are
and
these
he had a
guys?
1.5 on his
You're
P10
just
Ronin
handing him
before they took
kills.
away the ammo count on that weapon. This made him a great fragger with great utility and a lot of rotate options. Now, he's in a much more balanced state, but he doesn't have any of those rotate options because instead of giving him his super shorty back, they gave him impact grenades that nobody really uses. I think taking away his super shorty in general was a dumb idea because they knew that he had to be a roamer. All they had to do was nerf his fragging potential by taking away
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Give him the bailiff. Give him a bailiff.
his nitro cell, and by reducing the amount of bullets, or just taking off the 1.5 off of the P10 Roni. There was no reason to reduce his way of rotating by taking away his super shorty, which is why I think it is one of the most dumb and overlooked changes in Rainbow Six Siege history. But if you thought any of the changes that I've talked about have been absolutely stupid, then I cannot wait to tell you about the 7th worst change in Rainbow Six Siege history, which was the series of Blackbeard nerfs that the old pre-reworked Blackbeard received.
What?
If you don't know, in Operation Dustline, which was Year 1 Season 2, Blackbeard on release was actually very powerful.
I did hear this. It took like several magazines just to break one of his like gun shield things, and he had 2 or 3 of them.
It was borderline broken. You could take 2 defenders and shoot all of their ammo at his shield, and even then, it would still have HP left over before it broke. Granted,
Holy fuck! I didn't know it was that. I didn't know it was that bad. I thought it was only like a magazine or 2.
did he only
Not 2 defenders and a full mag.
had 1 face shield back then, but still, it's not like you would be going against 40 different
I just hit a
magazines
blink.
anyways in a
Okay,
round,
dude,
so that
you
shield
gotta
never
stop
really
hitting
got
the
broken.
blinkers, dog.
So you never
You're
really
gonna
could get
fucking
headshot
frag
as
mentally.
Blackbeard. And if you pair that up with upside down rappelling, maybe crouching or looking over a ledge, and you couldn't shoot a Blackbeard. He was absolutely broken. That's when they nerfed him into the state that he was back in the day, which was making it to where he had 2 shields that were almost about as useful as paper mache on your face. They even kept nerfing the
I do remember when Blackbeard. I do remember Blackbeard having those 2, and they just like it took like 2 bullets and it fucking broke.
HP going
It
from
was- he
50
was the most
HP
useless
to
operator
20
ever.
HP, and all of those changes
Sense
were
was more
absolutely
useful.
terrible changes. He went from a broken
That ain't-
operator to a more useless operator instead of reworking him like they should have
Not move. What the fuck? No, this guy's actually
done
hurt.
in the first
This guy's
place.
on a
I
fucking
personally
hurt
think
right now.
Osa should have been a Blackbeard rework, as shields are highly controversial right now, which is why I think the unnecessary nerfs to Blackbeard, especially when his win rate was already so low,
That
is
was
some
a
of the
great
worst
use
and
of-
most
great use of
unnecessary
grenades
changes
right
in
there.
Rainbow
Great
Six
use of
Siege
grenades right
history.
there, by the
Another change that was completely unnecessary was the removal of the terrorist hunt game mode. If you don't
I don't know
know,
what this
Rainbow
is.
Six
I have
Siege
no
is
idea
a
what this is.
anti-terrorist game. That's the entire point of Rainbow Six as
Yep,
a
yep,
unit, at least
yep.
in the lore. It's anti anti-terrorism. But when they removed the bombers from Terrorist Hunt, they removed the situations, they removed Article 5. In place of the tutorial and the versus AI game modes, there's actually zero part of this game at all where there's any terrorist in it at all, which completely removes the identity of what the game is supposed to be, which is an anti-terrorism unit. I will say the new game mode of Deimos coming out and actually having Deimos as a terrorist is a breath of fresh air, but I'm not going to act like the removal of Terrorist Hunt before Deimos' release didn't completely take away the entire purpose of the game and its plot. Something else that put the identity of the game into question was the 9th worst change in Rainbow Six Siege, which was the rework of the map House. If you don't know, House was one of the first maps for Siege ever.
I have played on House. I think my first ever like public game was on House way back in the day. It was like a year ago or something like that. My very first. It was like a year or two ago, but my very first game was on House.
Ever built. And before Oregon top floor 1v1s were popular, House 1v1s was where you settled beef. House was such an iconic map that when Rainbow Six Siege announced that they would be reworking it, Siege players were just confused. For one, they admitted that House was just going to be a casual map, so it's not like they were reworking the map in order for it to be fit in a comp place. They were just reworking.
I do wish they reworked House and they put it in a ranked system instead of reworking Fortress. Reworking Fortress, and not like House or something like that was the dumbest shit ever.
It because I guess it wasn't.
Dude, yo, I'm gonna time you out. I'm gonna time you out, dog. I'm gonna time your ass out. Holy fuck.
Perfectly balanced, but that's what made the map fun. It wasn't perfectly balanced. It was just something that you went into if you wanted to 1v1 your friends, or if you wanted a bit of nostalgia. So them reworking this map put into question whether they wanted the map to be competitive or to be casual, and whether they wanted the game to be competitive or the game to be casual. Even to this day, I think the rework of House was completely unnecessary, and all it did was lessen the nostalgia that old players have, making less people actually play the game. Something with a lot more of an impact in my opinion though was the 10th worst change in Rainbow Six Siege, which was the removal of 5 bullets from the P10 Roni. Like I was talking about a while ago, Mozzie used to be one of the best roamers in the game, and before Aruni came out, the only operator that had the P10 Roni SMG was Mozzie. And back when they were trying to figure out how to nerf Mozzie's fragging potential instead of doing the logical thing and taking away his 1.5, for some reason they took away 5 bullets on the P10 Roni. This didn't solve the issue at all, as the gun still had a high rate of fire with a 1.5 times scope, and he was a powerful operator, and all it did was make the gun just seem a little bit more uncomfortable to use, but it didn't really affect anybody. So for its lack of actual change, with the only change being players being mad at Ubisoft, I think this definitely goes down as one of the worst changes in Siege history.
Okay, I wouldn't say that's the worst change. I would just say it's a pointless change. There's no reason to have that. Why would you just take 5 bullets off? That doesn't fucking accomplish shit.
Ever. But if you thought that any of this was bad, I have, I think, arguably the worst change in Siege history.
Okay, we're on number 11, and this fucking guy says this is arguably the worst one on every single
Hellion underscore played underscore that says, hey mom, I'm using TTS to talk and confess to you. I'm gay.
My mom's not home, but I'm not gay, by the way. I'm not gay. No hate to gay people, I'm just not gay.
At least if you were an old player. And that was the removal of old movement. If you don't know, the movement of Rainbow Six Siege right now is a little bit different than it used to be. For one, everybody used to move a little bit faster. For two, what that meant was not only do you move faster in terms of how you walk and sprint, but also you used to be able to crouch and uncrouch faster. You also used to be able to lean faster, and you used to be able to lean farther, meaning that quick peeking was a lot easier to get very, very good at, and it had a higher skill ceiling. This did make it more TDM heavy, but considering the fact that the game is a first-person shooter, and considering the fact that a lot of people really liked the old movement compared to now, I think it's safe to say that all this did was turn people away from the game more than it actually did to balance it. I suppose it is more fair now, especially for newer players, but the whole point of Siege, at least what they've been doing for the past 5 years, is that they're balancing it around the competitive scene, and competitive players don't want slow, clunky movement that fits a more utility-based playstyle. They want to be able to absolutely dominate other players, game sense-wise, and mechanically speaking. And when they removed old movement, they took away an extra aspect that players could get good at.
Wait, does Goyo have 130 HP? Holy shit, when was this?
At the game.
When was this? Why does Goyo
Definitely one of the more controversial changes in Rainbow Six Siege, but I think a change that most people can agree with me was pretty bad was the rework of the map.
Played underscore that says, hey dog, I'm using text to dog language to tell you I want to have violent S.
Favela. Favela,
No,
on
that's
release,
not true,
was one of
bro.
the worst
What the
maps
fuck?
ever. It came in Year 1 Season 3 Operation
this
Skull
is
Rain
such an
with the
ass map,
release
I will
of
be honest. This is a
Capitao
bad-
and
this is a
Caveira.
bad fucking
Favela
map.
was just a confusing map. It had too many floors, too many soft walls to reinforce, not enough natural cover, and it was pretty easy for attackers to just get where they wanted to go. So Ubisoft decided to
It was
rework
also-
the
it's
map and
also
make it
just
a
a
bit more
mess of a
competitive,
fucking
eventually
map,
adding
dude.
it
It's
to
just-
ranked
it's
after
just
the
a mess
rework,
of a
which was one of
map,
the
bro.
biggest mistakes that they've made ever. You see, Favela
Like, it's
rework
just
did
straight
make the
up-
map a
it's
little
just
bit better,
straight up
but
a
it still had all of
bad
the core
fucking
issues.
map. There's
For one,
nowhere to,
the
like,
map was pretty
go.
confusing to most players, especially the first floor. You also had the issue that you had a
Yeah,
bunch
like-
of soft walls
like
everywhere,
nothing
meaning
on
there
that
wasn't
map
enough
makes
reinforcements
sense.
on the table to set up site in a proper way, and there was soft floors everywhere,
Yo,
meaning
old
all attackers had to
Blackbeard.
do was get vertical control on anything to be able to completely dominate the map. There was also a lot of attacker verticality from outside the map with all of the scaffolding, the rafters, the houses you
I
could jump
didn't
on,
know that.
the
I didn't know
spawn
that.
points that you had, that it just made Favela still not really a good map. And the
Okay, who the fuck is Blackbeard? This dumbass just flashed himself. He tried to flash a fucking door. A reinforced castle door. What are we doing? You fucking retard. You didn't punch it. You didn't do anything to it. You threw a flash and then flashed yourself!
Favela rework
Oh my
didn't
God.
actually solve any of the core issues
Okay, I'm convinced Blackbeard players have no brain cells. Like, there's no way they have any thought
that
process
the old
behind their
Favela
eyes.
had, making it one of the worst reworks and worst changes in Rainbow Six Siege history. Speaking of bad map reworks, let's go into
Oh my god, Outback is the worst map. I will die on this. I will actually die on this. Outback is the worst map in Rainbow Six. I swear to God. No. It's the worst map in the rank pool system right now.
another
it is the worst
terrible
map.
map rework, which is the Outback rework. Now, I will say,
dude, Outback in
compared to the
general, bad.
Favela rework, the Outback
Outback is just
rework
bad.
actually did solve more issues. If you don't know, Outback on release was a terrible map. Outback right now is still a terrible map, do not get me wrong.
Whoa,
but it
whoa, 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 whoa. Where is that drone hole? Wait a minute. Is that drone hole still in the game? That's a
was
crazy
so much
drone hole.
worse on release. You
Okay, you suck at using a drone, though.
had too many staircases, way too
How
many
do you miss that hole?
attacker entry points, and way too many
That is a
spawn peaks
crazy
and runouts
drone
for
hole
the
that's still
defense.
in the
The
game.
issue with the Outback rework is most of this persists. They did take away a large chunk of issues like there being too many staircases and how the garage played out, but most of the main issues still persists. It's hard for attackers to leave spawn, and it's hard for defenders to hold space once
Okay, so the problem with Outback is it's hard for attackers to attack in general. Like, just in general. It's hard for attackers to get into the building. Just off rip, it's hard for me to... There's so many spawn peaks that can happen on Outback. It's unbelievable how many spawn peaks there are. There's probably at least 10 minimum. 10 minimum for the 3 spawn points you have. And then on top of that, if the attackers actually get into sight, there is no fucking chance. There is literally 0 chance that a defender is going to be able to defend that effectively. Now, you can defend the objective very well from the outside. So, like, on the fucking, like, the bathroom shit or whatever, that site, in the, I think it's kitchen, I don't know, it's the second floor, it's the one that everyone goes to. It is so unbelievably easy to hold that wall, just because there's so many angles on the window, on all the windows, on the soft wall, on the stair, like, but as soon as the attacker gets in, the defenders are fucking fried.
attackers enter the building. There's still too many windows that lead directly into site or around
see?
site,
See?
and the site setups in general just aren't very good. Outback in
Yep,
general
yep,
is
yep.
definitely a terrible map, whether you think it's fun
Absolutely.
or not, it's still not
Absolutely.
balanced.
If anybody says Outback is a fun fucking map, I hope your family burns.
And the rework didn't do much to change that, which is why it's still a pretty bad change for R6. A change that I don't think most people even realized happened, though, which actually happened pretty recently, was the 14th worst
Really?
change in Rainbow Six Siege history. And that was the removal of XP notifications from proximity alarms. If you don't know,
Oh
back
yes, dude, that's so fucking stupid. Cause like with the notification, whatever, the XP notification for the proxy alarms, it made it so much easier to tell if a proxy alarm got triggered. So like if you threw a proxy alarm across the fucking map and you just sat in sight, you would see that your proxy got triggered. I understand why, because it is kind of like broken. You could sit across the map and you can tell when someone walks through a hallway. That is broken because you're supposed to be able to hear it. But it's also just kind of like, It's just kind of annoying. It's just annoying to deal with, especially if you played with that notification. Like when I play that notification, every once in a while I'll like look for the notification, then I have to like be like, oh shit, wait, no, there's no notification, and then I just like get fucking swung and like, get my head taken off.
In the day, anytime a proximity alarm would go off, it would tell you on the right hand side that it would be going off because you get XP from your proximity alarm going off. The reason that Ubisoft wanted to remove this was because people would use the XP on the right hand side that you'd get from the proximity alarm going off as a sign to blow up a nitro cell from below.
Okay, that's smart. I never thought of that.
Below the proximity alarm. Issue: the only person who could actually do this was Sentry.
Holy shit, I remember this. Actually, no, I remember this. I do remember when Sentry first came out, people would put proxies in a spot, and then they would just C4 at the bottom as soon as they got a notification. They would put both their proxies on a doorway or some shit. As soon as it got triggered, boom, you just blow up.
You see, proximity alarms and nitro cells are both secondary gadgets, and the only operator that can bring two secondary gadgets no matter what it is Sentry. And Sentry already was seen as a pretty bad operator, and even to this day,
okay, if the recruit change is not on here, I'm gonna be very pissed.
It is seen as situational at best in ranked lobbies. So removing XP from proximity alarms made Sentry even worse, and all it did was shoot good players in the foot for discovering.
I mean, she has good guns, but there's just so many better utilities out there. Why would you ever play someone like that when you could have better utilities?
Covering something and actually being skilled at the game.
There's just
Not
so
only
many
did removing
different
XP from
utilities
proximity
out there. Why
alarms
would you ever
balance out
choose
Sentry in their
utility?
mind, but the unfortunate side effect of doing this is that it removed the XP that you'd get from any proximity alarms on any operator. This made proximity alarms already worse than they were, which makes everybody that has the choice between barbed wire and
Now,
proximity.
I don't think proxies are that bad. I think they're pretty good, actually. I'm gonna be honest. If you use a proxy correctly, Kate is gonna get no. The Kate is gonna get fucking fried. If you use a proxy correctly, then it's really good.
Alarms pick
Called it. I actually fucking called that shit. I knew Kate was gonna get this dickhead. Like, look at this. Look at this. No,
they
no, no.
were,
Look
which
at
makes
this, look at this,
everybody
look at
that
this.
has the choice
Right?
between barbed wire
Kate is already swung. Half of his body is fucking exposed. All this
and
guy does
proximity
is he just slowly peeks and then you're fucking dead.
alarms
Head level 2, because he's crouched and you're not. And people are just automatically gonna fucking
pick barbed wire
go ahead
every
level.
single
If you're a good
time,
player, you're gonna get
especially
head
now
level.
that
So
barbed
most
wire
people.
does damage with the most recent update. So the removal of XP from proximity alarms took away the one thing that made it good, and that's why it stands as one of the worst
Holy fucking late proxy alarm. Take this man's game away. Oh my god.
changes in Rainbow Six Siege history. Another change that was just as controversial, if not more, was the rework to Frost that happened not too long
Oh,
ago. Essentially, the way
yes,
that
I
Frost
remember
used to
this.
work
This
is that
is
if you
kinda- I
stepped
don't
in
know.
a Frost
I don't know how to feel about this one. It's not bad, but at least it's so fucking, it's just kind of a niche thing, because not a lot of people die to Frost, and then on top of that, not a lot of people play Frost in general. You really only play Frost to troll, or to stop a fucking shield. But now that shields can just shield bash, it's useless.
Matt, you weren't able to get yourself up. A teammate had to get you up. When
my
Frost's
God.
rework was announced that you would be able to get yourself out of Frost mats with the slight
You can
debuff of
follow
not being
the
able to
blood,
sprint
though.
and leaving
Okay, yes, but the thing is most of the time, when someone hits a Frost trap, you hear a big kush of them hitting the Frost mat, and you're just gonna kill them immediately. So there's like almost no chance of you following it, because you're already gonna fucking murk them.
gallons of blood. There was a literal boo from everybody in
Who is this Frost player? Get him off
the crowd that was there
Oh my
watching
god.
it
No one is falling
live
for that Frost
because
mat.
nobody
Absolutely
thought
no
this
one
was
is
a
falling
good idea.
that.
For one, Frost mats were already pretty weak, as most people knew that if there was a Frost on the board to just
I take back everything I just said. I didn't think that the IQ of an average R6 player was that low. You placed a Frost map in the most obvious spot, and this fucking retard just
look down and
stepped in it
shoot
and got a
anytime
free
that they
kill
would
for
vault
it.
over a surface. So nerfing the Frost mat just didn't make sense. Frost wasn't really in need of a nerf anyways, as she wasn't one of the best operators in the game at the time, so this just didn't really make sense. Nowadays,
isn't
most
in
people
need of
don't really
anything,
think
bro.
of it
Frost
all
isn't,
that
like,
much, and she
she's
still
just in a
played just
fucking
about the same
spot,
amount as she was,
you know?
but on release, this was definitely one of the worst changes, at least in the public eye.
Holy shit, can we talk about how bad the lighting is on Border? Like, the lighting on Border now is really good compared to this. This lighting is fucking
A
ass.
change that was bad no matter what eye you looked at it from, though, was the removal of Smoke's deployable shield. If you don't know,
I didn't know
Smoke
Smoke
used
had
to
that.
have a
I didn't know
deployable
Smoke had
shield,
that. I had
and
no
this was
idea.
great because it fits so cohesively with his utility and
It
how
does
his
make
gadget
sense,
would
though.
play
It
out.
does make
Essentially,
sense,
if you had a deployable shield, you would sit behind it with a shotgun, and if anybody got close to you, you'd swing it with a shotgun. If anybody
That's
tried to
fucked
push your
up, bro.
teammates, you could just throw smoke grenades at them, making it to where they couldn't push anywhere if they wanted to. Because you also had an SMG-11, which was harder to control back then, having it deploy.
I swear to God, fucking Ubisoft just likes to, like, remove shit just for the love of the game. Like, why would you remove that? It didn't make him broken. It didn't make him good. It didn't make him bad. He just had a deployable shield. Oh, that's cool.
Shield that you could
Like,
swing off
why?
of also made the SMG-11 easier to use. And because you had a shotgun for sight setup, having the ability to make sight setup and put a deployable shield down essentially made sight your oyster, and you could do whatever you wanted to do and
But, like,
essentially
that's
fit
not
your
a bad
teammates to the
thing to
strat that you
have.
wanted to
Good
do.
aim.
He was great for solo queue for this reason, and the removal of his deployable shield completely killed this aspect of Smoke. His pick rate is a great example of what I'm talking about. Smoke used to be one of the most picked defenders in the game,
I
and
think
one of the
he's-
most loved
Smoke is
defenders in
still
the
up
game,
there
but
for
when they
one of
took
the
away his
better
deployable
picks,
shield, now
for
he's one of the
sure.
least one with defenders in the game, and one of the
Just 'cause
least
of, like,
picked
shield meta, I
defenders in
think
the
he's
game.
still
You
up
can
there.
definitely blame it on a more fast-paced meta and
Maybe
other
okay.
operators
That's
like
not bad.
Goyo outshining him, but make no mistake, the biggest impact on Smoke and his win rate was definitely the removal of his deployable shield. Now,
I
a lot
don't-
of these
I
changes
find
have been
that
happening
very
in the same
hard to believe.
operator.
I find that
We've
so
talked
hard
about
to believe,
Mozzie a
dude.
few times, we've talked about Maps a few times, we've talked
Hey,
about
that's a good
changes to
swing right
Smoke
there.
a
That's
few
a good swing
times,
right
but
there.
I'm going to talk about an operator I haven't talked about yet, and that
Check out how this app helped me buy whatever I want in my favorite game.
Why?
Unlimited
Oh my
money
God,
makes it so you
dude.
can get what you want from the game.
That's like what?
It's soulless.
That's like what, the fourth ad I've had this entire fucking game? Like, what is this? The ad game?
now you might be thinking that one of the worst changes
I remember this change. This change
to
was
happen
bad.
to
This
Solus was
change
the recent
so
nerf to her
bad,
gadget
bro.
where you have the overclock mechanic, but I don't actually think that's true. I
I
think
have
the
no
worst
idea.
change that they've ever made to Solus was the removal of Solus's impact grenade.
You could have talked about any of the changes that Solus had, and you chose to talk about the impact grenade of Solus. Oh my God. You could have talked about how she can no longer use her gadget during prep phase. You can tell about the overclocking method. You could talk about the inability to use her shotgun as a primary. You can talk about the range nerf. You could talk about the time nerf. You could talk about literally anything, but you chose the fucking impact portion. Impacts were not that crazy to use. No, the bad part about the Solus nerf was she can't use her shit during prep phase. That is it. You can keep everything else she has right now, but bring back the ability to have her use her ability during the prep phase. It makes her so much more viable. So you can get fucking drones. If you have a Mozzie and a Solus and you could use her ability during the fucking prep phase, then you can get all 4 drones and then shoot the last one.
Grenades. When Solus got nerfed after being one of the most powerful operators in the game and being the most powerful roamer in the game, Ubisoft
Yeah, see, look, she has a shotgun as a primary and SMG-11 as a secondary. Like, that is a crazy combo to have for a roamer. That's a good combo to have for a roamer. Now, granted, the shotgun is a fucking ass shotgun. It's the spaz shotgun, which
knew
sucks.
that they had to make a change. And rightfully so. Honestly, they did need to make a change. But they made way too many changes.
They did.
She
They made
was
way too
nerfed
many.
way too hard. And one of the nerfs that she got was the removal of her impact grenades.
I don't know why this guy's hell bent on the impact grenades. Why do you want those? They're not that crazy. You're making them seem like they're the holy fucking grail.
Solus is a roamer, through and through. Whether it be shooting drones and leaving on the roam to play a more passive playstyle,
Okay, so I adore the fact that he was complaining how Mozzie didn't have her fucking shorty, but she got impacts instead, and now he's complaining about having impacts and then having a shotgun as a primary.
denying a
Like,
plant from
what?
below, or just trying to track down that pesky Nook player that keeps sneaking up on you through staircases. You get the idea. Solus is meant to roam, and
Yes,
any
Solus
good
is meant
roamer
to
in
roam,
the
yes.
game has impact grenades.
No,
because
no! Solus doesn't need impacts, dude. It doesn't matter if Solus has impacts, bro. She doesn't need impacts.
impact grenades primarily are used to
That is
open a
not
wall
the
to
problem.
make yourself a rotation so that you can escape any risky scenario, or so you can surprise anybody that you're flanking or dropping on. It doesn't matter
Good
if you're a
reaction
roamer.
time. Oh my God, that was
you need
great
impact
reaction time.
grenades. And with Solus's gadget being
I'm gonna
nerfed
lose
to
my
hell,
mind.
they didn't need to remove her impact grenades. The necessary nerfs that she was given were enough, which is why the removal of Solis's impact grenades not only didn't make sense for her roamer playstyle, but it was the last needed nail in the coffin that made her one of the worst roamers in the entire game. I think if they had her impact grenades on her with the initial first nerf that she got, she would be a very balanced operator. But unfortunately,
you can install yeah, well, that's true. Yes. What I'm saying is that impacts aren't as, like, that's not the thing we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on her gadget, not the impacts. The impacts are fucking fine. Yes, they're nice to have as a roamer. They're good to have as a roamer. But her gadget was her main thing. Her gadget was her main thing. And most people, I would say from plat and below, no one from plat and below. Actually, no, I would go emerald. I would go like emerald 5 or plat 2 and below. Never use impacts to rotate.
that's not what we
Especially
got.
on-
Another
on
change that
console
people
lobbies,
were not
at
happy
least.
about was the removal of Nook's silent step.
Oh my god, this pissed me off. I used to have a hard-on for Nook. Oh my god, I used to have a hard-on.
If you
And then they
didn't know,
removed her silent
unreleased
step,
Nook
and it
not
just
only was
wasn't
able
good.
to dodge being seen from cameras, but she also had a silent step ability activated, kind of like Caveira does on defense. So not only could you not be seen by cameras, but you were completely quiet anytime you would use her silent
She
step.
was the
This,
best-
plus
she
the
was one of
fact
the
that
best
grenades hadn't been
Take the Legion Mine out!
reworked
She was one of the best
yet,
flank
and the fact that
operators.
she had a 1.5 times scope made her a very sought-after option when it comes to entry
What was
frags.
that guy
She, in fact,
doing?
was banned on 100% of every bank game in Pro League for an entire season.
Oh my god, that's a crazy stat. 100% on Pro League on Bank is insane.
And was one of the most banned ranked operators on attack for a
That's
while. She was
fucking
definitely
crazy.
overpowered, or at least overtuned to say the least, so they needed to make a significant nerf to her. They did this by removing the silent step ability off of her gadget, and they eventually
Okay, I think if she stays in like the area she is right now and you give her back silent step, I think that's fine. I think she's fine if you give her silent step back right now. But with her old gadget, yeah.
took away her 1.5
No, it
times
was
scope,
too much,
and they
too
eventually took away her frag grenades. This made a lot of people just not play her outright after a few seasons of nerfs, but now that she's not all that
Well,
nerfed,
actually, no. If you give her silent step in the gadget she has now, that's a
I
little
think
bad.
having her silent step back wouldn't do that much damage to the game. It gave her an ability that nobody else had, which was the combination of dodging cameras and having a silent step, whereas the Nook right now is literally just Vigil, but
There's
on
no
attack.
way.
Also, if you're able to
I was gonna say,
dodge
there's no
cameras,
way that
but
grenade
people
doesn't
can
think.
still hear you
Cool, so
coming,
Ace is
or
gonna
you
die that
have
grenade.
barbed wire and
You
proximity alarm,
fucking idiot! Like, actually, you're so
Nook doesn't
stupid.
really do anything, and good teams usually are able to hear you, so having a silent step on the
So is that
operator
Clash.
makes
Holy
sense,
shit.
which was why, for the majority
at
of
the
the
bottom of the
community, this is
bottom
one of
right
the
now.
worst changes they've made to an operator, even though some people might still say that it was a little bit overpowered when she did have it. Something else that wasn't nearly as overpowered was the removal of Sledge's SMG-11. If you didn't know,
There
just
we
like
go.
Smoke and Mute do,
I-
Sledge used to have an
I never played when Sledge had SMG-11.
SMG-11. This was great. Essentially, people would use the ACOG to get kills long range on Sledge, and if they needed a close range gunfight or they needed to kill people through
Okay, holy, that's actually kind of broken on its
Vert, they would use the SMG-11. This added to his killing potential, and when they removed this, and shortly after, frag grenades became less useful.
Now, I think if you give Sledge SMG-11 back now, I think it'll be fine. He'll be a more picked operator as well if you give it back.
He became a 3 armor, and RAM was introduced. It was a much more glaring issue that Sledge needed his SMG-11 back. Even after everything I told you that happened to Sledge, Ubisoft still hasn't given it back, and even when they took it away, it was unclear as to why. There were many other changes that they could have made to nerf Sledge in a more impactful way, if they even really
I just don't think you can't really nerf Sledge. He has a fucking sledgehammer. You can't do anything to his gadget. That's the thing, is you can really only do anything to his gun.
needed to, but taking away the
secondary
SMG-11
gadgets, like, you
didn't
can't
do anything
do
but stop
anything
people
else.
from having fun.
can't
Something else
nerf
that
his
stopped people
fucking
from having
ability to
fun
break
was the
shit.
20th worst change on this list, which was turning Zofia into a
Hey, you got your numbers mixed up there. We just went from
3 armor.
2019.
If you didn't know, Zofia didn't always used to be a 3 armor. She used to be a 2-speed 2 armor. Her recoil on her weapons also used to be a lot less, and due to these two things,
I do remember her recoil being a lot less. I don't pay much attention to like the armor and the speed and shit. I don't. but I do remember
She was seen as one of the most played entry fraggers for most people. She was an
was a
entry
good
fragger, but
secondary
unlike
to
Ashe,
Ashe.
actually
She's
had
a
the
good
utility to
secondary to
back
Ashe.
it up in case you needed to slow down and actually go for an execute. However, when
See,
they made
'cause, like,
Zofia a
like,
3
if
armor,
they would ban Ashe, like, a lot of Ashe mains would go Zofia just because she had that ability to fucking
it didn't
break
really
up.
make sense to play her anymore. For one, Zofia was played by fraggers, and you can't really frag out if you're a 3 armor. And if she's not a fragger, that means she's either a flex or a support. But on support,
shit!
you had the option of Ace, Thermite, or Thatcher, or Maverick, which were much better supports. And on flex, you
That's
had much
C4.
better
That's
people
C4.
like IQ or any situational operator you would need. There was no real reason to run Zofia anymore. If they wanted to balance Zofia, I genuinely think all they had to do was nerf
Did you just throw a drone and then immediately get shot
her
at?
weapon
That's fucking
recoil,
sad.
and maybe
I
change
feel
the
bad
mechanic
for
of how
you.
her stuns work. I do not think at all that they needed to make her a 3 armor, and in my opinion, it is one of the most unnecessary changes in Rainbow Six Siege history. That one is up for debate though, and if you disagree with me on that one, I completely understand, to be honest. But one thing I think we can all agree that was
Oh my god, he's actually gonna talk about shields. Thank
a
you.
terrible change
No recruit rework is kind of annoying and doesn't make any sense. The recruit rework
Change
should
in
have been
Rainbow
on
Six.
here. I think you should have swapped the Solus impacts out with fucking recruit.
Siege was the shield rework in Year
This
9
is
Season
so
1
fucking stupid.
Deadly
This shit
Omen.
is so
No, this is
stupid.
the most recent shield rework that actually made shield semi-balanced.
dumbest shit
This
ever.
was the
Why would you, like, I understand, like, okay, I get putting shield, I get, like, reloading your gun behind a shield. That makes sense. It's just a pistol. It's not, like, that crazy. But why the fuck? Why the fuck are you allowed to shield bash?
shield rework that made shields broken. This was the shield rework that made it to where you could reload behind your shield, where you could throw utility behind your shield, where you couldn't hit fire behind your shield, and where you could sprint with every single shield in front of your face, and it wasn't just exclusive to Blitz anymore. This made Monty a killing machine, even Fuse Shield a viable killing machine, and it made Blitz
Oh my god. Get Bandit a fucking map, dude. Get Bandit a map. Holy fuck.
even better than he already was. Although to balance it out, they made it to where you couldn't just melee people and you had to actually shield bash them. But to be fair, if you're gonna shield bash them, you're already in place to ADS them and shoot them anyways, so it didn't really matter. The shield rework
Shield
also made it
bashing
to where
matters.
you
Shield
always
bashing
had melee
matters.
priority, essentially making it to where if
Yes,
you and a
yes,
defender
yes,
meleeed each other at the
yes.
exact same time, you would always win that melee fight,
Yes, that
meaning
is
that
so
shields
dumb.
couldn't
That is
lose a
so
1v1 and they didn't
Shield shouldn't have melee priority.
have to be
Shield
a
shouldn't have melee priority because just meleeing is like the only fucking counter essentially.
team-oriented operator. They could go out and roam clear solo on their own and be completely fine, then be a shield for plant and have utility for sight. They were just too overpowered,
Okay, this mute
and
is
with
actually
one
schizo,
shield being
dude.
banned
What are you
almost
doing?
every single
Okay, I need fucking Warden to get his hand off of his Johnson and fucking stop jerking it to fucking Brazzers and some stupid shit. Flank the Montane and you win. He's the only
Pro
enemy
League
combatant.
and ranked game, Ubisoft knew that they had to change something because of how bad this change was for Rainbow Six Siege. And that was the 21 worst changes in Rainbow Six Siege history. If you liked this video, check out this next video, and I
Not
hope to
bad.
see you there.
Not bad. I would highly recommend checking out R6 Central. He's actually pretty good. Some of those changes were not controversial, I would say, but you know, can't have them all. Definitely should have had